Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lethabo Monametsi and this is Conversations Unleashed. If you are new, welcome to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. You are highly appreciated. So as content creators, one question that can be on our minds a lot is the question of, am I being vulnerable in this moment, or am I oversharing? Am I sharing something that's really not meant to be put out in the world, or am I sharing something that can actually help someone become better or help someone go through a certain phase, a certain season in their lives? I think as content creators, we all, of course, do something that is practically unusual. We decide to put ourselves in front of cameras and we expose certain aspects of ourselves, or we expose certain aspects of our lives, and at times I think it can be difficult or sometimes challenging to understand the difference between being vulnerable and oversharing. Now, I would honestly like to admit that I wouldn't consider myself a vulnerable content creator. I'm a small content creator. I know I'm not like big, but anyways, I'm still creating content on YouTube. So I wouldn't necessarily consider myself the most vulnerable of content creators. And I mean, for me, I always see it as this: I wouldn't want to expose certain things about my life or about myself that I still don't feel ready to expose. I don't want to expose things out of obligation. I want to expose or talk about things when I feel like, one, I've worked through them, as in I've worked through them in my life and I can talk to them and I wouldn't mind them being out there and being criticized or being judged, as in, I would be okay with that. And I wouldn't want to expose things that, or rather create content for the sake of popularity. And I mean, this kind of is me getting into the topic beforehand, but this is one thing that made me want to create this video of how do we understand the difference between being vulnerable and oversharing. And just to start off, I decided to first start off with my own definitions of what is vulnerability and what is oversharing. I did not use the dictionary versions of these words because I did not use the dictionary definitions because, wow, the definitions were not going to help me create this video. Anyways, I decided to define vulnerability as the exposing of one's truth. I also decided to, wow, why am I saying I also decided to? Anyways, let me just start over. In my definition, vulnerability is exposing one's truth. Oversharing is exposing too much of one's self, sometimes unnecessarily. So the main question, and I got this theme, I got this foundation from a book that I'm reading by Brene Brown, and she tackled this question of, when do I know when I'm being vulnerable and when do I know when I'm oversharing? And she said something so profound, and she said it all lies in intention. What's your intention behind you sharing this information with someone or sharing this information on a social media platform? Now, obviously, sometimes intention can be tricky to note because you can be like, no, I'm doing this for the benefit of other people. And that's your conscious intention. And then unconsciously, you find that you're doing it because you're trying to get a certain level of attention. And for me, vulnerability has always been sharing something that I wouldn't mind being attacked. Meaning, I'm not sharing this thing to get a popular response or to get a, even I'm not doing this to be criticized or to be popular. I'm just sharing it because in that season in my life, I would like to share it. I'm sharing it because I have the hope that it'll help someone else. And if I feel like, sometimes I can tell when I'm not sharing for that purpose, and when I feel like I'm not sharing for the benefit of somebody else, I prefer not to share. And I think that's why sometimes I tend to have YouTube content blocks, because sometimes when content is not flowing so easily, I find myself leaning towards the direction of wanting to post content just for the sake of posting it. And though that is sometimes necessary in the sense that we sometimes need to push past the mental blocks and still be able to create for discipline's sake, there also has to be a line between creating content because you just want to put content out there. I would honestly say it's tricky. Sometimes it's very tricky because in content creation, the truth is have to somewhat create content that can appeal to your audience, but at the same time you don't want to create content that appeals to your audience but sacrifices your own personal well-being. And the second point in understanding the difference between oversharing and being vulnerable is, how does it leave you feeling? There are times when you share something and it leaves you feeling uncomfortable. And there are times when you share something and it leaves you feeling relieved, leaves you feeling released, leaves you feeling, leaves you feeling free. So sometimes in that, when you cannot necessarily understand or you cannot necessarily come into terms with the intention behind it, you then have to ask yourself, how does this leave me feeling? Do I feel comfortable sharing it? Do I feel okay with it being possibly scrutinized or with it being possibly judged? Do I feel okay with it possibly blowing up in the world knowing about it? Will I be able to handle every single thing that comes with this information that I've shared? And once you get to answer yourself truthfully and honestly, meaning once you get to truly sit down with yourself before posting it and saying, okay, do I really want to post this or not? Once you get through that phase, it's easy to kind of determine whether you have stepped into a phase where you are oversharing and stepped into a position where you are vulnerable. And I'm not saying that you'll always feel comfortable when you are vulnerable on social media platforms. However, I truly believe that there is a difference in how it leaves you feeling. So just to kind of wrap it up, I think this is one of those short ones once again. I want to go back to my 2 points, them being, when you want to understand whether you're being vulnerable or you're oversharing as a content creator, first ask yourself, what is my intention? Do I want to share this because I want to help some people, or do I want to share this because I want to get attention? If it's get attention, you know that you're oversharing. You know that you're possibly stepping in a phase where you're stepping into a position where you are putting yourself, almost putting your emotions on the hands of other people. And if you are sharing because you are trying to help somebody else, you know that's vulnerability. You know that you're sharing it not because you hope to get a certain reaction, but because you hope that your own story will uplift somebody else. And the second thing is looking at, how does sharing this leave me feeling? Does it leave me feeling released and free, or does it leave me feeling uncomfortable and scared? And if it's uncomfortable and scared, sometimes it means you're not yet ready to release that information, or you have not yet worked through it, and therefore it is still yours to hold and to work through. And if it leaves you feeling relieved and free, it means it's something that you have worked through and are therefore okay with it being put out there for the world to see and for the world to sometimes use as they please. So yeah, I would honestly say that I am still a work in progress when it comes to this. I am an introvert, so sometimes I think I ask myself, am I overthinking? Am I overthinking this whole privacy thing? I'm a strong believer of privacy and keeping what is meant to be intimate, but I also believe that there's power in sharing stories and power in sharing testimonies, so that other people can look at your story and be able to overcome whatever season they are in. There's power in both keeping certain things intimate and close to yourself and private, and also power in sharing stories to uplift and hopefully heal other people. So yeah, in trying to find the balance, we are all trying to figure it out. But I hope that this video somewhat gives a certain level of clarity to the question and clarity to the understanding of the difference between oversharing and being vulnerable as a content creator. So yeah, thank you for watching Conversations Unleashed. This is the end of my video. My name is Lethabo Monametsi. Please do not forget to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share, and see you next time on the same channel. Wait, see you next time right here on Conversations Unleashed. Bye.